A Boeing 747 carrying 524 people was cruising at 24,000 feet when the aircraft's tail suddenly separated in mid-air, leaving the flight crew with no controls, no direction, no cabin pressure, and no oxygen. Yet despite this impossible situation, the crew managed to keep the aircraft flying for the next 45 minutes. This is the story of human courage, engineering failure, and a flight with no remaining controls. Japan Airlines Flight 123. On August 12, 1985, a JAL Boeing 747 was parked at Tokyo's Haneda Airport, preparing for its sixth flight of the day to Osaka during the busy Obon holiday travel period. After cleaning, 509 passengers and 15 crew members boarded the aircraft, unaware that the plane carried a critical weakness from a poorly repaired tail strike 7 years earlier. Captain Masami Takahama, with 12,000 hours of experience, First Officer Yutaka Sasaki, and Flight Engineer Hiroshi Fukuda led the cockpit, and with such a capable crew, passengers believed they were in safe hands. At 6:12 p.m., Flight 123 took off normally, but 12 minutes later, a mysterious explosion-like sound was heard as the rear pressure bulkhead ruptured, creating a hole in the tail section. Cabin pressure dropped instantly, oxygen masks deployed, and objects were sucked toward the breach. The tail section had actually torn off, taking the vertical stabilizer and all 4 hydraulic systems with it, meaning the aircraft had lost the ability to control pitch, roll, and yaw. The pilots, still unaware of the missing tail, struggled as the aircraft began banking uncontrollably. A witness on the ground captured a photo clearly showing the missing rudder. Meanwhile, the captain declared an emergency using transponder code 7700 and attempted to return to Tokyo, but without hydraulics, none of the flight controls responded. The crew then resorted to controlling the aircraft using only engine thrust. By increasing power on one side and reducing it on the other, they attempted to counter the violent rolling motion. Using this extraordinary technique, the pilots managed to slowly descend from 24,000 to 13,500 feet, restoring some oxygen and stabilizing the cabin. Still, the aircraft entered mountainous terrain, and with thrust control alone, it was nearly impossible to make the precise turn needed to align with Tokyo. Despite the crew's desperate efforts, the 747 continued drifting over the mountains, alarms blaring in the cockpit. At 6:56 p.m., after 32 minutes of struggling in the sky, the aircraft clipped a ridge and crashed into Mount Takamagara. Only 4 passengers seated near the center of the cabin survived. The remaining 520 lives were lost in one of aviation's worst disasters. Investigations revealed that Boeing technicians had incorrectly installed the tail splice plate during repairs 7 years earlier, limiting the bulkhead's strength to 11,000 pressurization cycles, but Flight 123 had already exceeded 12,500. Simulator tests later showed that even fully prepared pilots could not keep the aircraft airborne for as long as the real crew had. This proved how extraordinarily hard the Japan Airlines Flight 123 crew fought, keeping an uncontrollable aircraft in the air for 45 minutes. Their efforts remain one of the most heroic displays of airmanship in aviation history.